The story of South Africa and Palestine is strikingly similar. The struggle over land, the struggle over occupation, the struggle over equality, over racism is a Palestinian cause, similar to the struggle of black South Africans in this country.
When you watch the Palestinian question, it resonates very closely to the experience of native South Africans. To be abandoned by the rest of the world. Black South Africans know what that looks like.
Nou, imponerend gebouw, hè? Dus al deze kantoren hier zitten advocaten. En advocaten zijn toch al de mensen die de geschiedenis van Zuid-Afrika vorm hebben gegeven. Ik bedoel, als je nagaat dat apartheid was natuurlijk vooral een systeem van wetten, van racistische wetten die gedwongen zwarte en witte Zuid-Afrikanen uit elkaar hield. Maar ook een systeem dat juist door advocaten met vuur en zwaard is bestreden. Denk aan Nelson Mandela. Hij was advocaat en heeft daar een groot deel van zijn leven tegen gevochten natuurlijk. Maar zelfs na het einde van de apartheid en na de dood van Mandela is die strijd nooit gestopt.
This is the most unequal country in the world. So it's inevitable that human rights spring from inequality. And it also has a history of apartheid. And it has a history of colonialism.
I now came to South Africa in a time where all of a sudden the whole world, but especially the American president is talking about land in South Africa.
You know, the South African story has always been about outsiders interfering. The Dutch were the first to interfere, right? The British then came and interfered, you know? And then when they established American industry, you know, colonialism morphed into a form of imperialism, you know, where external economies ran domestic politics. We had thought that the era of Reagan, all of that, Margaret Thatcher, etc., you know, those people who called Nelson Mandela a terrorist, we thought that we would never see that again. You know, we thought it was dead with the death of Thatcher, with the death of Reagan. But it's now coming back. What is unique now is the absence of that shame, it's the shamelessness in it, you know, in which Donald Trump simply has no self-reflection about what was the impact of American imperialism on Africa and in South Africa as well.
The big issue of contention that a lot of people are talking about now is the law that makes it possible to actually expropriate land in South Africa without compensating the owner. Do you understand why it makes so much noise in South Africa?
No, the first problem is the way you are articulating the law.
Is it?
It just shows how powerful the right-wing lobby has been.
I'm infected.
Yes, that even your question proceeds from their premise.
Can we have a look here at what you have here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's files, some of which I'm no longer working on, others I am still working on, but I've got my books here.
So the land matters, the land is ours?
Yeah, those are books I've written, yeah.
Okay, so apart from the court cases, you also still have time to write books about this?
Yeah, I haven't had time since 2021 to write another book, but yes, I did publish it.
So how do you feel if I'm asking you whether Afrikaners are really being threatened in this country?
Everyone knows that Afrikaners are not threatened in this country. What they may be threatened with, by the way, is being threatened by equality with blacks. But that simply means that fundamentally they have a racist mindset. And so any idea that you know, they will live alongside blacks, you know. No, but why does the media keep repeating this? I really just do not understand it. You've come here, like all of you. You came from Europe because you had someone who was complaining about white people.
Because the Afrikaners are in the news.
Yes, you've come because Afrikaners are in the news. Yeah. You haven't come because black people are in the news.
Yeah. So do you feel that we shouldn't be paying attention to everything that's being said by Donald Trump?
Yes. Why does the media, why do you, right, when you ask the question, it's false, guys. It's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lie that there is a white genocide.
I agree with you.
If Donald Trump was talking about black people in South Africa, you wouldn't be here. But Donald Trump would never talk about black people in South Africa anyway, because that's just not his constituency.
Right.
And that's not how he is wired up. Instead of asking a critical, you know, question, yeah, they just repeat what Donald Trump has said. Is that the role of journalists, to just repeat bullshit? You know?
I now invite Mr. Tembeka Ngcukaitobi to address the court. You have the floor, sir.
De advocaat is lid van het team dat de staat Israël bij het Internationaal Gerechtshof in Den Haag heeft aangeklaagd wegens het schenden van het genocideverdrag in Gaza.
Madam President and distinguished members of the court, it is a privilege to appear before the court on behalf of South Africa. I will address Israel's genocidal intent.
Maar wie Amerika's belangrijkste bondgenoot aanvalt, kan op reactie rekenen.
One is they say that South Africa should not have gone to the International Court of Justice to take the case on its own behalf, because the country acted as South Africa. But the impact would have been felt in Palestine.
Oh, you mean, so the fact that South Africa went to The Hague to say Israel is not doing enough to prevent genocide, yes, that case is actually the very reason why Donald Trump is now interfering with South Africa?
Yes, that's what he says. Because if you look at the executive order that he issued, the complaint is against the case that South Africa took to the International Court of Justice. Because he says what that has done is to position South Africa in opposition to the friends of America. So we are not going to support people who harm our friends.
Right.
That's what Donald Trump says.
And that's very personal for you, because you're part of that team of lawyers.
I wouldn't say personal, because as a lawyer I have to keep the personal and the professional separate. Israeli soldiers in Gaza were filmed dancing, chanting and singing in November. May their village burn, may Gaza be erased. These are the soldiers repeating the inciting words of their prime minister. I did want to do the case, I must admit.
Why?
I think primarily because of the experience of apartheid and the gross abuse of human rights in the hands of white people. And when you watch the Palestinian question, it resonates very closely to the experience of native South Africans.
Why is that? I mean, can you explain that?
Number one, if you look at the judgments that have been given now, whether it's advisory proceedings or the genocide cases themselves that have been delivered by the International Court of Justice, the one thing that is striking is the nature of apartheid that is practiced in Palestine by the occupying, and it's now been referred to in judgment as an occupying force, right? Which has all of the characteristics of a settler colonial state, right? Mm-hmm. And we here have just lived through more than 350 years of a settler colonial state. The intent to destroy is plainly understood by soldiers on the ground. It is also fully understood by some within the Israeli society. The evidence of genocidal intent is not only chilling, it is also overwhelming and incontrovertible.
It works, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it should be fine.
You are part of the team that's actually taken on Israel in the genocide case in The Hague.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How did you come to that?
I was asked. And it's interesting the way in which it all happened, because the Palestinian cause was one I was absolutely aware of. The campus I was from, Wits University, there was lots of protests and activism around the Palestinian issue. And so it's not something I was not aware of, something I was involved in on campus as well.
Can you explain
Yeah.
why? Why was it like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the story of South Africa and Palestine is strikingly similar. The Nakba happened in 1948, as I've said. The apartheid government was established in 1948. The struggle over land, the struggle over occupation, the struggle over equality, over racism is a Palestinian cause, similar to the struggle of black South Africans in this country. And so that's the reason why I guess Mandela said on his tour of Palestine, I think it was in '89, that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. These are all reporter judgments in order of year. So they'll be published starting there in 1947.
Yeah.
So that starts all the way there.
Right, so 1948 is a key year for both South Africa
and for Palestine.
and for Palestine.
Yeah. So all of these books, and they reported in years, and then they're split up in volumes. So
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
And so these are all judgments done under the apartheid law of South Africa.
100%. Yeah. There's an unfortunate view that a position that challenging the Israeli government is anti-Semitic. Like, to hold a government accountable is not to be anti-Semitic. In the same way that to hold the American government accountable, to hold the English government accountable, is not treason.
Did South Africa get any support from other countries actually when they took on this case?
Yeah, I think in the beginning not so much, but certainly I recall, I think by the time we went to court, probably about a handful of countries, probably 10 to maybe 13.
But Netherlands is not part of that group.
No, which is kind of ironic given that it's the host nation for the ICJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have expected?
I mean, Netherlands' history with colonialism and apartheid is a textured one, as you know. And so I would have, one would have expected that after the history that it has had with not just South Africa, many countries around the world, when something like this happens again, and if you're genuinely remorseful and you're genuinely trying to build a better world than the one that you had created, that this is a case that you would quickly put your hand up and say, I'm ready to jump in and say something's wrong here. And if the principle matters, the principle being that every nation owes a duty to ensure that another genocide doesn't happen again, then countries should be queuing up, banging at the doors of the court.
There are clearly supremacist practices in Gaza and in Palestine. Look at the judgment, the July 2024 judgment that expressly uses the language of discrimination. But there's something else about the Palestinians, which is to be abandoned by the rest of the world. Black South Africans know what that looks like, because at a certain point in time, I made the example of Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, who did call Nelson Mandela a terrorist. So we know what it means to sort of struggle in isolation, with no friends.
Wil je op de hoogte blijven? Abonneer je dan op de Frontlinie nieuwsbrief.